Decision making. That's the enemy of progress. Think about it. Every time you find yourself in a situation where it feels like you don't own the outcome, where it feels like whatever happens next is not something that is ideal according to you, you're putting away or putting off a decision that needs to be made, which is perhaps not entirely your own, but also needs to take into consideration all the other parties involved. Now, I know what you're thinking. All progress cannot be tied down to decision making. It's not just as simple as taking a yes or no decision and moving on, because there is so much to think about, right? Yes, there is always so much to think about. The complexity of the decision can change. There are certain decisions which are very easy for you because you've been doing them for so long, they have almost become like second nature, if you must. And there are some that are new situations where what you stand for, how you show up, and who you are as a person contribute as much as the facts and information about the particular situation. But having said that, at the end of the day, any situation, the progress happens only when somebody says yes or somebody says no. So why should that not ensure automatically that everyone at all points in time is trying to come to a resolution for any decision that needs to be made so that action can be taken and people can move forward? Because at the crux of this decision-making process lies conflict. Conflict between all the people involved who are participants to the decision making, and they are in a game of tug-of-war. There is an internal pull to stay in our comfort zone, in our ideal state, and an external push to step out, look at the problem objectively, and take a decision that is beneficial for everyone to a certain extent. Hi, I'm Neha. I'm an executive coach with a core focus on branding for people and organizations. And what I love to do here on YouTube is find complex ideas and present them in a simple form so that they can be helpful to you when you're just rushing about life. Let me break this down with taking a very, very simplistic view of a really nuanced, complex episode that happened in world history that probably was more critical than any other situation in the formative history that we know. And that was the Cuban Missile Crisis. It can be argued that at the base of it, the Cuban Missile Crisis, or the 13 days in 1962, were actually a schoolyard conflict with three main characters. Mr. Kennedy, who was the popular boy and the bully of the playground, he did not want to cede any space. He wanted things to stay the way they are and, if possible, get Cuba in the bargain. Mr. Khrushchev, who was the new upstart who wanted to prove to everybody else in the world that he was worth to be a leader, or at least be an equal to Mr. Kennedy, and gain some allies in the process. And Mr. Castro, the boy who got bullied, he just wanted people to get off his island. At the height of the conflict, Mr. Kennedy threw blockades around Cuba, saying that Mr. Khrushchev can't enter. Mr. Khrushchev, being the upstart that he was, kept trying from one way or the other to actually get in, and Mr. Castro just wanted to play with the big boys and be told that he matters too. And everything came to a head on October 27, 1962. A spy plane was shot down by Soviets, and a Soviet submarine carrying nukes was signaled by a US Coast Guard who just wanted it to come up, but they thought that they had been attacked. And that time, three people inside the nuclear submarine had to make the decision if they are going to shoot a nuclear warhead or not. Two people said yes. So the decision landed with one man, Vasily Arkhipov, the second in command of the submarine, the person who was not in charge but had to make the decision, said no. He was the one who chose not to fire a nuclear missile that day, and because eventually it was found out to be a miscommunication, that is when things started to kind of back off, because both Mr. Khrushchev and Mr. Kennedy realized what could have been. And that same decision led to the other same decision of Mr. Kennedy agreeing to the fact that he will back off of Cuba and never attack Cuba again, but could go down in history as not being the president who started a nuclear war. Mr. Khrushchev had to take away his missiles, but at least got his friend Cuba safety and security. And Mr. Castro eventually was not very happy with the decision because he really did not get the big guns he was hoping for, but at least Cuba was safer. And so the next time you find yourself in a position where you know you need to make a decision to make the progress that is required, if it feels difficult to make that decision at that point in time, take a minute and think about what's really the conflict at hand. So instead of getting catty, get cute. And cute stands for collaborate, understand, target, and execute. Start by bringing everyone together. Conflict thrives in isolation. Collaboration allows for everyone's voice to be heard, and therefore everyone in the room feels like they have taken part in the final decision and truly understand where anybody inside the room is coming from. What is the real perspective? What's the fear? What's the need? What's the motivation? Why is this person coming with this perspective or backing this decision at this point in time? If instead of being defensive, instead of trying to counter, if you just become curious and ask a little bit more, you might be able to understand their perspective, and more importantly, you might be able to gain insight into a perspective you had never thought of. The next is target. Find a shared goal. And by the way, this finding a shared goal or finding a goal is actually the one thing that will get you so much clarity on what the next steps should be, that it will become that much more easier to go ahead and be able to have these meetings, to be able to get people back into a room. Because when you find a shared goal, then everybody knows that that's the target. So that the internal conflicts, politics, drama, all of that kind of dies down. Here's a video right here of using the concept of goal setting to understand your personal brand, your professional brand, give an outer goal to the team or to yourself, which steps away from everybody's personality and talks to a higher purpose, if you will. Which brings us to possibly the most difficult step while you're being cute, which is to execute. Decision making is one, but the fact is, once you have taken a decision, once you know that you have given enough thought, credence, and understanding to why this decision is the right one to be made at that point in time, move the hell on, man. Just move on. Once it has been decided, move on, execute, put it into action. And then you will come to a point where there's another decision to be made, which is fine. Because if you think about it, or your day, whether you are a senior leader, a founder, a manager, an intern, a student, your day is a set of decisions one after the other. Some decisions, like I said earlier in the beginning, some decisions would come easy. You don't have to think about how to brush your teeth because you've been doing it long enough. Some decisions might be difficult. You've just started to drive a car. You don't yet know all the things that are going on. If somebody comes from the left, you don't really know what your reaction would be. You wouldn't be able to make that decision that fast. And some will be brand new. You wouldn't know what the hell to do in that situation. But at the end of the day, your day is full of simply making decisions. And as much as the C.U.T.E framework, it looks outward to a team or to other people's perspective, within the team or even for yourself, the one thing that becomes extremely difficult is to identify what the conflict really is. What are you afraid of? What is going to go wrong? Why do you have a problem saying yes? Or why do you have a problem saying no? All of that comes when you understand what are you really battling with. And here is a worksheet that I have attached here in this video. You can download it, which comes with a set of questions that will help you get more clarity in terms of what that conflict really could be. Using this framework and this worksheet in tandem together can help you the next time you find yourself in a position of being the enemy of progress. And I hope that there are more new decisions on your way. Let me know, does this angle work? Does this make sense? Or how else, or what else do you think is the biggest enemy of progress? I would love to hear from you in the comments. And if there's anything else that you have for me, I would love to hear that as well. Goes without saying, kindly subscribe, take the time, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.